New warning from Point Park Police about Ubers, what they're saying you should do.
New routes are being added to Point Park starting this fall. Find out where they'll be headed.
And one of our own Point Park professors has his own podcast, Point News starts now.
Live from the Point Park University Broadcast Center in downtown Pittsburgh, this is Point News.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Point News. I'm Tramel Perry.
And I'm Alex Lenigan. The University of South Carolina is grieving this week after a tragic incident this past weekend. According to CBS News, 21-year-old Samantha Josephson got into a black Chevy Impala thinking it was her Uber after a night out with friends around 1:30 a.m. Her roommates reported her missing Friday afternoon. Police then arrested 24-year-old Nathaniel David Rowland after they pulled him over for a moving violation and found blood, window cleaner, bleach, and Josephson's cell phone in the back seat. Rowland is being charged with first-degree murder.
Point Park's Chief of Police Jeffrey Bisong sent students an email Tuesday morning regarding recent incidents with Uber. Bisong said, quote, students should check that the license plate on the car matches the profile on their phone, to ask the driver who they're looking for, and not to reveal personal details. If the driver doesn't know who you are, or if you feel the driver is impersonating an Uber driver, call 911 or University Police, end quote.
Pennsylvania's Public Utility Commission is calling for improvements to background checks for Uber drivers. In findings released in just the past few days, the commission said background check monitoring for Uber drivers is one of the big things that should be improved. They also recommended improvements to the safety features on the user's mobile apps. The PUC also says Uber should explore ways to reduce the level of insufficient information in the complaint investigation process. Uber has not publicly responded to the PUC's findings.
Point Park Police are stepping up their security features. Point Park News reporter Sarah Yobi has the story.
According to Point Park University's Chief of Police, Jeffrey Bisong, the university's police department is extending the use of force simulator to other departments in the area this summer. This includes Pitt, Carnegie Mellon, and several more. The Pennsylvania Chiefs of Police Association lists Point Park as one of 6 accredited college police forces in the state. The use of force simulator, used for beginning and monthly training, is only 2 years old.
Use of force simulator is a training implication we started here with the officers about 2 years ago to better assist them in the field for any type of situation that they might encounter that might have to deal with the use of force, whether it being from mere presence to deadly force.
Lieutenant Black and Sergeant Mariani of Point Park Police informed me that the use of force simulator presents officers with numerous unpredictable situations.
It could be anything from a suspicious person just standing on a street corner to somebody who is fiddling with a bike, to somebody that is peeping their head from behind a wall and peeping it back in.
The simulator also presents police with active shooter situations. The police go through these simulations often to better prepare themselves for reality.
It is, you can talk about a scenario or a situation, till you're blue in the face and talk about what you would do in that situation, but until you're actually in it and you're interacting with somebody, even though it is a screen, it still gives you that feeling of what you would do in that situation.
The use of force simulator prepares officers for many situations, but it cannot change how unpredictable they can be. I'm Sarah Yobi, downtown Pittsburgh for Point News.
Coming up on Point News, new routes on for the Point Park shuttles. Find out where.
And later, what your weekend weather forecast will look like. We'll be right back.
All right, we're ready.
Oh, no. You are right here.
Is the wind really necessary, guys? We need the wind. Okay.
You go take awful. You. Awful.
Okay, I need someone to make me laugh.
Where's Wyatt? Wyatt's always late, duh.
I'm here. Jealous?
Get out of my way. Stop.
Cool. Okay. And now we're smiling like a lot of noise going on. Let's keep the background.
2, 1.
Here at the Pioneer sideline,
We cover the real sports.
on another season, the Penguins are just getting started with the regular season this week.
Pioneer Sideline.
The show that starts your Friday mornings has returned with both familiar and new faces. Daybreak host Taylor Fife and Delaney Bomas are bringing you the latest updates in Pittsburgh and Point Park news. We also have a variety of talent on our free segments. Whether it be singing, dancing, or indeed egg smashing. Start your mornings with us at Daybreak on UView at UView Television.
Welcome back to Point News. I'm Nick Berlansky. We've started out this week, the first week of April, with some pretty decent temperatures, and you can expect more of the same today, but going into tomorrow, you might need to figure out where your umbrella is because we have an 80% chance of rain. Also, if you're going to the Pirates game, it might get rained out, so don't get too excited about those $2 tickets. We have a high of 56 tomorrow as well as a low of 47. Moving on to Saturday, which could be the nicest day of the weekend, we're going to have a high of 66 and a low of 47 with just 10% chance of precipitation. So if you have time, try to get out there to the point. And then moving on to Sunday, we're going to have a high of 73 and a low of 59 with only a 40% chance of rain. So a little percent chance of rain there, so you might want to keep the umbrellas out, but we are going to send it over to Tremel and Alex for the rest of the news.
Point Park announced its expansion of the shuttle service. Point News reporter Marley Pinchok has the story.
Point Park University is expanding their shuttle services beginning in the fall of 2019. Now, this plan of action will allow students to choose from a much more diverse selection of locations throughout Pittsburgh. According to Director of Transportation and Administrative Services Janet Pekar, current shuttles only go to a selective group of places as of now: the waterfront, East Liberty, and Oakland, and Point Park strives to add more to this list. Dean of Students Keith Palo sent this email to Point Park students on March 22nd, requesting their voices to be a factor in this plan by saying, quote, "Students will be able to engage directly with Point Park social media sites to offer suggestions, and they can also email studentaffairs@pointpark.edu.
I always like to get student input because they are the ones who are living it. And we went to where you all live. The students live on Instagram, Snapchat. We use the social medias in order to say, give us your feedback. Let us, at least while we're going through this process, hear what you have to say.
According to Point Park's Instagram page, students were given the option to choose from multiple new locations to be added to next year's shuttle service, such as North Shore, Shadyside, Lawrenceville, and Squirrel Hill. Keith Palo also included subtle information in his letter regarding the possibility of including surrounding Pittsburgh college students in this shuttle expansion.
There's even possibilities for some partnerships with other local universities in the sense of utilizing multiple shuttle systems if we can, and having us have the ability to show our student ID, which would work with their student IDs, because we believe that if we can come together as local universities and utilize resources, it's only better for everyone.
Specific details of hours of operation and additional locations have not been released yet. Reporting at Point Park Shuttle Parking Lot in downtown Pittsburgh, I'm Marley Pinchok for Point News.
The executive board of Point Park's Black Student Union sent out a letter over email last week to the Point Park community regarding the final verdict of the Antoine Rose versus Officer Michael Rossfield trial, which found Rossfield not guilty. The executive board highlighted resources on campus, such as counseling for those grieving with the Rose family. Kurt Kumler, the director of the University Counseling Center, said in an email, quote, "When we face difficult events in our community or society, we encourage Point Park community members to avail themselves of the supports of the university," end quote. The Counseling Center is on the 5th floor of Lawrence Hall.
Find out if the Penguins will make the playoffs or if they'll fall short.
And which team had the biggest upset? Stay tuned to find out.
What's one word to describe CAB?
Welcoming.
Community.
Creative.
Experiences.
Family. Openness.
Pineapple.
The Campus Activities Board is a student-run organization that consists of 7 different committees. Each focuses on event planning, marketing, and administrative activities. Join us in organizing the juiciest events on campus, from late-night bingo to festive dances to our team bonding meetings. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Point Park Cap, or like us on Facebook at Campus Activities Board at Point Park University.
Good evening and welcome to News Night. I'm Josh Troop alongside Jess Paterchak.
Defending his decision to kick out 15 Cuban diplomats from the United States.
Thanks, Allison. Fitness on Demand has returned to Point Park.
Residents fear that Mount Agung will have a repeat of 1963's eruption.
2-star NFL quarterbacks made the headlines this week after wrapping up.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening. That's your news tonight. For Nick Tomarello, I'm Alex Grubbs. Have a great night.
Welcome back to Point News. I'm Noah Strackbein, here to give you all of this week's sports updates. The Stanley Cup playoffs start Wednesday, April 10th. The Penguins will head into the postseason as the 3rd seed in the Metropolitan Division. They'll likely take on the New York Islanders in the first round, looking to win their 3rd Stanley Cup in 4 years. Bryce Harper became the highest paid player in MLB history for nearly 2 weeks before being passed by Mike Trout. But the newest Philly is taking the season by storm. Harper currently has 8 hits through 5 games, including 3 home runs, a .500 batting average, and the league's most attention-grabbing bat flip. Philadelphia suffered their first loss against Harper's former team, the Nationals, last night, but they'll return home tomorrow to take on the Twins. 21-year-old Ronald Acuna Jr. has only played in 116 Major League Baseball games, but the Braves wanted to make sure he was around for a while. The left fielder signed an 8-year, $100 million deal with Atlanta. In his rookie season, Acuna batted 127 hits and 26 home runs on the way to helping the Braves make the playoffs and earning himself the NL Rookie of the Year award. This season, Acuna has 3 hits and a home run through 5 games. And college basketball has danced itself down to 4. March Madness has brought the best, and this weekend the last 4 in the field of 64 will square off for their chance to play for a national title. Auburn pulled off the biggest upset of the tournament, defeating North Carolina for the program's first ever Final Four appearance. They'll take on the 1-seeded Virginia. On the other side, Michigan State has shocked the world by beating the unbeatable Duke Blue Devils. They'll head to Minneapolis to face Texas Tech in what should be a hard-fought 2-3 matchup. That's all for this week in sports. Let's send it back to Tremel and Alex.
A Point Park senior trip staple has been cut. Find out what seniors will miss out on this year right before graduation.
And later, find out which School of Communication professor started his own podcast. Point News will be right back.
The United Student Government at Point Park University, working since the 1970s to solve the issues that matter to you. What concerns do you have about the university? Student life, safety, food service? Send us an email to studentconcerns@pointpark.edu or stop by our office on the 7th floor of the Student Center. You can also attend our weekly open meetings on Mondays at 3:15. Follow us on social media at USG_PPU for more. The United Student Government, by the students, for the students.
The Point Park Sports Network, bringing you live coverage of Pioneer Athletics on Stretch Internet, the home of the River States Conference and the NAIA. Subscribe today for complete access to the Point Park volleyball, baseball, basketball, and soccer teams. Watch live and on-demand broadcasts, and don't miss a minute of Point Park Athletics. Head to pointparksports.com/live for broadcast listings. The Point Park Sports Network, your streaming home for Point Park Athletics.
3, 2, 1.
Please visit our website. Please, it's a nice website. Please visit our website. Please.
If you have ever watched television, whether accidentally or on purpose, YouView is for you.
Welcome back. For seniors looking forward to the annual boat ride for the graduation reception, that event will not be happening this year. According to Maria Ochoa, a committee member helping coordinate the Big Gateway Clipper boat ride, was canceled due to cost. Over 100 seniors attended this event each year. According to Director of Student Life Amanda Anderson, this is the first time in 4 years it will not be held. Ochoa said in its place, Point Park has partnered with Grand Concourse to hold a reception in its grand ballroom. Student tickets are still priced at $10.
Point Park University's renowned journalism professor Bill Mushi is using his investigative journalism experience in a different platform, podcasting. Mushi launched the Win at All Costs podcast last semester. The program, which is recorded in the Center for Media Innovation, is centered around both wrongly convicted criminals who had their cases overturned, as well as interviews with current inmates fighting for their freedom in the courts. The first edition of the podcast features conversations with multiple individuals incarcerated at the local, state, and federal levels.
I have done stories on many different people from all over the United States regarding wrongful convictions and prosecutorial misconduct. And in the first edition of this podcast, I've gone into 4 different cases to start. What all of these things do is prove one thing in my mind, that we should believe in the power of words or simply believe in the power of facts. And maybe the injustice everywhere will sometimes cease.
On the way this spring. Students can get involved with the podcast by emailing Professor Mushi directly.
On Tuesday, the Pittsburgh Water and Sewer Authority began a new water treatment to curb lead levels in the city. According to PWSA Senior Manager of Public Affairs, Will Pickering, the addition of orthophosphate will work to fight against lead pipes that need to be replaced. In a phone interview, Pickering said the chemical will be added to reservoirs in phases. This will let PWSA keep an eye on the concentration of the chemical. PWSA is also in the process of replacing lead pipes.
Point Park faculty and staff are being trained on how to respond to an emergency such as an active shooter. Point Park Officer Angela Martini explains why it is important. Marie.
Today was based around the program called ALICE. And ALICE is an acronym that stands for the steps that you need to take in an active shooter situation. ALICE kind of is a training module that staff and faculty and students can resort to when they're in an active shooter situation that's easy to remember. So today we went through the video, we broke down what the steps are, we broke down what each letter of the acronym means, and what my role would be in an active shooter training, and what the staff and students and faculty's role would be in an active shooter situation.
The active shooter training is for staff and students. Director of International Student Services, Rebecca Lee, talks about her experience attending the training.
And it's good to get that little extra awareness of what to do. And just the biggest thing is to make sure that you are aware, that you are watching people around you. And if something doesn't look right, it's probably not right. So you should let somebody know.
If you find yourself in need of help, call 911 or call campus police at 412-392-3960. So Tramel, there's only about 3 weeks left in the semester. It came up very fast. Do you have any plans following graduation?
Just make sure I can just get all my ducks in a row and try to find a job. What about you?
Same here. I've had all these internships throughout the years and just hoping one of them actually turns into a paying job eventually. Aside from that, how excited are you to graduate?
Very much excited. I'm ready to be done with school, and best of luck to you.
Yeah, same to you. That's all for Point News. Thank you for watching this week. I'm Alex Lenigan.
Point News will be back next Thursday at 2 p.m. Have a great week, Pioneers.